Sorry, they just literally moved my flight to Tassie tomorrow. So apologise. What an intro. That's how you break the ice and the news feed. So tonight I'm super excited to go through some awesome drams, awesome picks. I'm a bit biased because I picked them with a lot of you on screen in some regards. But Buffalo Trace Distillery. So we got Andy Milne or Milne there, as he is typed in. Hello. You can talk. It's not a podcast.
Do I interrupt?
Yeah, we got Milne from South Trade who was handing out barrels, and also, well, Adam's just jumped off maybe because I was going to introduce him, so we'll keep going for now. Jumping back on, there he is. He's only entering now.
Something weird happened there, but yes, hello.
Okay, cool. So we're going to kick off with the tequila, and then me and Milne and Adam are going to, I guess, not introduce. I don't know what's going on with Simon's camera, but there's a finger and a leg. We're going to introduce something else that's just popped up, I guess you could say, which is we made live today. And then, obviously, the running order will be Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, and Stag, which I'll obviously tell you. We'll go through why we think they're a little bit more special. Our first single barrel of Stag for barrel and batch, which I'm pretty stoked about. I'm wearing the OG first shirt, the Eagle Rare shirt. Everyone loves that. And that's where we're at. What's going on with everyone jumping off camera today? All right, now, here we go. Here's the Corazon. Look at that new. This is just going to become a collection of coins, I reckon, because Buffalo Trace. This one just looks so good. We can let the cat out of the bag, I guess, that our Weller and our Stag and Sazerac, we sent them to fill up with tequila as well. So that will be pretty cool when they come. If for nothing else but to collect the coins, right?
Like the Blanton's lids.
Yeah, that's it. So let's pour a tequila each and get into it. Now this one is a Reposado. It is not an Añejo like the last one. Funnily enough, early on they had the same kind of qualities, but this one took a steer, and for hopefully the reasons that you see as well from trying it. Now that we're going to try it, I hope you all like tequila. If you don't, get off. We call this one Whiskey Drinker, and I reckon this summer, this one on ice, just fantastic.
Straight up, like I told you, I'm going to try and do side by sides where I can, and I've got the Turkish Delight, and straight up, it's so different on the nose. It's completely different.
Yeah.
I think just to reaffirm the story of how these come about, just in case there's people watching that missed the last one and weren't lucky enough to get their hands on the last barrel. That when we run the Barrel Select program with any of our bourbons at Buffalo Trace Distillery, we have the opportunity to tick a little box that says send the empty barrel to Casa San Mateas, which is the Corazon tequila distillery in Mexico. They will then fill Ray's empty barrel that he's hand selected with a tequila, and then we have been lucky enough to let them sit and wait to age and do another pick out of the tequila barrels, which I think is amazing. I'm not sure if anyone else has copied us yet, but I don't think there's any other program like this in the country or the globe at this point in time. But just it's called the Boomerang program because it goes out and comes back around, which I think is amazing. I think it's amazing that we can tell the whole story of where that barrel goes and what it does and how it influences different types of liquor.
100%. Yep. Sorry.
I'll add to that it was even more chaotic because when this all actually happened, this was all taking place during COVID.
Yeah.
And so in the US, they were able to run the distillery still, and they had lots of permissions, and everyone was able to still go to the distillery and operate and distill as normal. Casa San Mateas basically ran skeleton for the entirety of COVID, and they ran with far fewer staff than they probably should have, and so they the fact that this has sort of come to fruition and has happened in the most challenging times for them as a distillery, and it's amazing sort of detriment that they were able to receive these barrels, and there was probably 2 people at the distillery at the time to actually receive the barrels, actually fill them, and then make it all work. And that I was initially concerned at the beginning that it's sort of like, what's going to happen and what's going to actually come out at the end of this, because we were on a pretty thin line of staff at the distillery, but the two tequilas that we've come out with so far have just been so stunning. And
4 years in the making, right? Like almost 4 years in the making to bring these finally to the country and associate them into the pre-peaked barrels by Ray, which is amazing. Yeah, very, very different to the other barrel, but great in its own right. Delicious.
Every time I look at these whiskeys or tequilas, sorry, I sit there and imagine. Well, I don't imagine. I remember standing in my garden, taking constant phone calls from Ray about what's going on with not only the whiskeys but the tequilas as well. And it's a fond memory of that time, which was pretty crappy for everyone. But that was
the best memory was you handballing it to me. That would have been the one where you went, "Oh yeah, yours." Oh, yours.
Yeah, Milnie's phone now.
It was a good moment at that time. Was that actually the industry still kept together through this sort of stuff, and actually Ray and I carried on talking to each other almost every day because of this stuff. And so, Ray and I spoke every day because of tequila and because of whiskey during COVID. And I think I forget about it when we talk about the whiskey barrels, but when we think about tequila, I actually always think about you in that moment, standing in the garden, trying to give my wife some peace and talking to you.
It's pretty impressive that this is the first time we brought it to life, right? Like for me and you, Milnie, this has been such a long time in the making. Like, and finally to get it here and be able to get it out to people, insane. So
I'm just glad I'm part of his fond memories. That's great. Obviously me burning up your phones and constantly ringing, where is it, what's going on, blah, blah, trying to get a hold of it. And in hindsight, that Turkish Delight, it gave it that extra time and turned into an amazing drink. So not that it wasn't before, but I think that extra time we would have pulled it probably a year beforehand if everything wasn't so chaotic. So to actually give it that extra age as well, almost a mistake, really. And then we tried the samples. We're like, let's get it out now. Really good. But I think we've got to, give you guys a cheers to answering those calls and also following them up, because if you don't, they just end up in a backlog somewhere. So
or we get a backhand from Ray Daniels. Like not a lot of color in it. Like I've only got it in a small glass, but it's very different color to the other tequila.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was Blanco when you sent me the sample. Like it's so delicate in color, but it's kind of reminiscent of the expressions range that they do. So Corazon also do a range called Corazon Expressions, which is aged in things like George T. Stagg, William Lurewella, Pappy Van Winkle, Sazerac Rye, all these different types of casks.
Sorry.
And they're looking at aged casks. And I think that's the key thing is that once it's not typical for tequila to use a cask that has been, aging a whiskey for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And so a reposado in that respect is actually like, well, the cask is already 15 years old, 10 years old. And so it's pretty dead in comparison to what they would normally use. And so you're not going to get color. So reposado is actually pretty unique because it won't take that much color. It will just take flavor. So it's a really fun whiskey to look at because you're not getting color from a cask. You're just getting flavor.
little bit of color if you get a full bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not that there's no color, but you're not getting it anywhere near as much as you would if you put that aside. A standard reposado. A reposado will be brown, and this will be pale with a bit of straw.
Yep. Yeah. Well, aside from all that though, and the story how it came to be and how long it's taken, I'd like to point out that Corey doesn't have any samples because he's in another country. So we'll tell you what they're like, mate. I'm sure someone's going to enjoy that. Throw glasses. But what's everyone's thoughts on it?
Mate, it's delicious. Look, it's taken on plenty from that cask. Like there's loads of butterscotch coming through. But what I like about, I love the añejo as well. The Turkish Delight was incredible. But this for me is a little bit more balanced. Got all that beautiful butterscotch from the bourbon cask. Then we've still got lots of agave coming through, lots of caramelized tropical fruit, a little bit of herbaceousness. It's cracker.
A little bit peppery, but very, very smooth.
You still know it's agave. That's what's key here for me.
Yep. And what do you reckon about the title, Whiskey Drinker? Come on, it's pretty good. Let's go.
Oh, you never miss, mate. Like Steph Curry, never misses.
Never misses. It's bang on. All right. Cool. Yeah.
I think that like the last tequila was the tequila that would convert any non-tequila drinker. And I think this is similar. And like going on from the name, I think anyone that likes whiskey would like this.
Yeah. As I was saying before too, to me it's just hot weather right now. That tequila and a bit of ice, just very, very good, refreshing.
Or as a non-tequila drinker here, right? This doesn't taste too bad.
Yeah, well, there you go. And as Noel just said, you're now converted. That'll be released at midday on the 4th next week. Yeah. Awesome. Now we're going to move into bourbon, but first we're going to have a bourbon that you guys don't have, unfortunately. Sorry. Had I had this a day earlier, you would have. But I'd just like to point out that we
win the party, everyone.
Yeah, no, there you go. We sent that email out with Octomore, this, that, the other in our batch up, blah, blah, blah. And I've never seen Mr. Teagues, who's on the chat today, reply so quickly to jump on. I'll be on. Yep, sweet, Octomore. And it was only about, 4 days later, Teagues, you're like, hang on a second. What's this? I said, yeah, mate, you're getting bourbon. And you're joining us.
It's a classic bait and switch by Ray.
If we can convert him to a bit of bourbon, I think we're done all right.
Well, that tequila's pretty good, and I'm not a tequila drinker either. So
beautiful. Well, that's what we like to hear. But now we're going to have some smooth as not Tennessee whiskey. Yeah. Traveler. So this one just we just got this today and put it live on the site. But I just thought, since we're talking about Buffalo Trace and everything that we're doing, Milne, if you wanted to. No, he's left. Okay, on with the show. That's out the window.
He's coming back. He's grabbing the bottle.
Traveler, hopefully.
Yeah. I thought if you want to just tell people what it's all about and yeah, take it away, young man.
Yeah. So Traveler whiskey. So brand new whiskey for us. It's the first, as far as I'm aware, from a Sazerac perspective, this is the first celebrity endorsed whiskey that we've ever got involved with. So Chris Stapleton, for those who don't know him, he's a 10-time Grammy Award winning country music artist. He is probably up there in the top two. I think that if you look at an Australian perspective, the top two country music artists in Australia right now are Luke Combs and Chris Stapleton. He's touring in February and March, and his tour sold out in minutes across major arena sort of places. But he's American country music artist. He's been asking for ages. He wants to do a collaborative whiskey with us, and he's a huge fan of Buffalo Trace. And for a long time, we've said no. And I think that it's for a major reason. It's been as a distillery, we are still on allocation, and every state and every country is on allocation in terms of what whiskey and what liquid we can get. And we sort of finally found a point where we can actually help and support this. And so this year we released American blended whiskey. So American blended whiskey means that it's coming from multiple distilleries rather than from one. We're very lucky in the sense of Sazerac being we are the biggest distiller or biggest producer of distilled goods in America. So we have a lot of sites and a lot of places that we can make whiskey across the US and Canada. And we've made this great whiskey. And it's similar spot to Buffalo Trace. So Buffalo Trace, you're looking at sort of $55, $65 on the shelf for a bottle. Traveler will be about $75, $79 for a bottle. Great whiskey. It's a really good sipping, easy drinking. To me, this is a Boilermaker whiskey through and through. Like I've constantly been drinking this with a beer in hand and just a shot by the side. And it's a blend that Harlan Wheatley, our master distiller, and obviously Chris put together themselves, and we came up with 50 different blends for them to choose from. And between the two of them, they aligned on Blend 40, and that's why it's called Blend 40. But I think it's a great sipping whiskey. We're not competing in the worlds of everything else that we're tasting tonight. Everything else we're tasting tonight is very much exclusive and rare and super premium styles of liquid. This is going back to not to basics, but to some real good, just easy drinking liquid.
Easy drinking.
And I think that's
on the shelf item.
It's a $75, $79 whiskey that I will drink again and again. And at the moment, it's on allocation from end of December. It will be off allocation, and there'll be cases coming to my house to continue to drink and share with friends. And I think that's where it really sits. It's a good solid whiskey to just drink with friends and really enjoy.
Yep, that's. I was hoping for a story of him singing to casks and imparting his smooth.
Well, he's coming over in March. It's at that point I'll get all the stories from him. But unfortunately, they've not let me get too close to him because I'm a massive country music nerd, and so
I haven't received any tickets yet, Melanie. We should be giving tickets away.
They pushed me away from him purely because of my geekiness, I think.
Yeah,
that's why.
All right. But well, then we may as well move into stuff we can all taste together because that sounds like a plan.
All of us?
What are we doing?
You said we can all taste together. All of us?
All of us. This is pretty light on the old sticker on this one, but Buffalo Trace the first one, yeah. Surely, Corey, you took a bottle of Buffalo Trace with you.
Just number one.
No, this is yes. It's for Simon. I put big pictures of each one on there. So the one with the hole in it.
Well, they're never big enough, right? But,
what did you take, Corey? What have you got? Just poor old Corey over here. What's he drinking?
I'm sure he's doing all right.
oh, I'm sure he's
I
struggling.
took a ducket.
Yeah.
Finished
the bag, have we?
Here we go. Vidal's asking Traveller or regular BT. Look, Traveller's good. It's great, but I'm pretty sure everyone here knows that it's not going to beat BT for me. And there's only 3 of us trying it tonight, so you're just going to have to buy a bottle, Vidal.
I'd say that they're very different styles. Like
very different, yeah.
The BT has got a sweetness, it's got a softness, and it mixes really nicely. Traveller, it's a slightly higher ABV, so it's bottled at 45%. I don't know the recipe, and they won't tell us. But in my opinion, there's a bit more rye, there's a bit more spice, and so there's a bit of that peppery kind of zing to the whiskey. So they're very different styles. One is easy drinking, knock it back BT that we all know and love, Traveller, I think, has got a bit more of a bite and a bit more of an edge to it that I think will suit beautifully in a stirred down cocktail, but also as a good NEPA IPA style beer. And Mountain Culture Traveller is.
And here's so I'm assuming this is the same though, 45% across the board. So
Yeah.
you got five more points, guys. We know we all like that. The next stream we're going to is the Buffalo Trace, which you'll see is coming in a lovely tin.
What's happened?
Yeah, and inside it you'll have a bottle, and you'll have our story series number 1. So we're doing some story series, some collecting items. The plan is obviously to go through the range. The first 2 will be Buffalo Trace, and you'll get a nice little. I won't tell you the story because that defeats the purpose, right? But that'll be. Sorry, there's a moth in here. That'll be the next one that will line up. This is barrel number 7.
They come out of your wallet, Ray? Or
Yeah, I was going to say it's coming out of the Buffalo Trace tin. Hopefully you all get them off. But barrel number 7, which is quite awesome. I think that we're up to that number with Buffalo Trace single barrels just for barrel and batch alone. And we picked this in Queensland. Corey?
Yes.
At your place, mate.
We did.
There was 2 of them we picked there. I can't remember which one was your favourite, but
So I've at least tried this one.
the one that doesn't work and the people don't if they don't like it, I'll say that was the one you picked, and the other one will be the one I picked. No, but cheers everybody. Enjoy.
Cheers.
It's okay to be wrong if you don't like it. It's all right.
I got to say that's hard not to like.
Corey.
That's hard not to like.
Well, I should rephrase that, actually.
Yeah. How's the nose on that one, huh?
So just to clarify, was that was the number 7 or the number 1? Like you said, you need big print for me, Ray. I'm old and degenerating, so
It's the one with the buffalo on it. That's what you need to worry about.
Yeah, the one with the buffalo.
Yeah, right. So that was buffalo. So I like that. It was fruity and smooth, and at 45, it was a drinker.
So it's already gone then, is what you're saying?
Oh shit, yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Well, there we go.
that's a win. Yep.
I'll send you the tequila back for another one of those.
You didn't try the tequila,
Mate, the last memory I have of tequila was my 15th birthday getting my stomach pumped at Kirrawee High School in Sydney. So no.
Yeah.
Nah, just try it.
Mate, give this a go. I felt the
Really?
same. I felt the same about tequila. My memories from when I was young were horrible. This is fantastic. Give it a crack. It really is a whiskey drinker's tequila.
Corey, I'm trying it right now because you're in the muscle shirt, mate. Internationally, I'll
The
give
muscle
it back.
shirt without the muscles. No, give it a go.
I wasn't going to say anything, Corey, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I got him before you or anybody else did.
All right, I'm gonna give this a crack. If I dip out,
That's one way to do it.
Oh, that was hard
No
to watch.
blast.
Jesus.
I like it. I like it.
Oh,
Not that bad.
yeah, it
It can't be that shit. He's trying to lick the bottle.
bottle kill. Bottle kill. My wife's sitting across from me, probably looking at me like I'm a dickhead, but she knows I'm a dickhead anyway, so that's all right.
So how'd the tequila go though?
Well, I don't think I'll get fired from my Domino's delivery driver job tomorrow, so that's a plus. And it wasn't. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not a converted tequila drinker now, but I don't.
Send him a bottle. We'll convert him.
Okay.
I'll pay for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what do we got on the Buffalo Trace so far, guys? Anyone on Facebook as well got anything to say? Let's go.
I loved it. I'm always a fan of the BTAC stuff and the Eagle Rare and all things bourbon. Fruity, smooth, 45% was great. I think it's just a clean, great barrel pick, Ray. Yeah, I'd buy 30, but Corey took them all, so I'll only get 2.
Understood. Yep.
Ray, I'm having it next to the salted caramel popcorn.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Which you know that I loved. And I think I might prefer the new one.
Yeah.
I like the nose on the popcorn, but this one's I find it fuller on the palate. When I go back to the popcorn, it's a little thin compared to this one.
Finish is better, more strength on the finish. The cherries up front for me, and just a longer finish that hangs around for a little bit longer.
So you're not talking about popcorn, you're talking about one of the other releases?
You continue to get cooler all the time, Noel.
Are you doing whiskey?
Are you drinking whiskey, hey, buddy? Yes, Daddy's working. So I tell my kids. Daddy's working.
So when you're referring to the popcorn, though, you're talking about another.
It was two. Yeah. It was 2 picks ago. 2 picks ago was this. Yeah. This one and the butterscotch came out.
Yeah.
Yep. Barrel number 5, but super happy with that, and it was a tough pick too because we had 6 samples. Tough day always, isn't it? But picking 2 barrels of 6 samples, like there was back and forth for a couple, and and the problem was too that we picked the 2 that we picked. Big reason was because they were different, but there were 2 that were very similar that were really great in their own right, and obviously you don't want, same as the salted caramel and butterscotch pudding, you wanted those differences. So this is kind of what this one would be too.
So, I mean, the question for you, Ray, is like, as you start doing more Buffalo Trace picks, how do you differentiate them from past releases? Do you want to do more of the same, or do you want to try something that's completely different? I mean, it's obviously all going to be Buffalo Trace still, but what are you looking for in your next cast pick?
I think that's also, that's a very good question. I think the first part of that is picking the best one in the lineup that we're given. That's always going to be what you're governed to, but certainly picking not so much a different one. Say this reminds me of barrel number 3. Okay, so I don't think that's a necessarily bad thing that there's a similarity there, but I certainly wouldn't want it similar to the last hurrah, which was the last barrel. So as long as I think there's a ways apart, then that's fine. Which is also, I guess, why we've started the story series with this and the cylinders, and something else for another reason for people to, get involved with the brand as much as I love it. So that's also part of it there as well. But when picking 2 side by side, definitely going for something that's super different.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
I think it's really hard because there's so much interesting selection in the process, and it is a really hard process when you sit there and go, okay, that's really classic, that's really sort of obviously VT, that's a bit left field, and that's a bit completely off the charts. And I think that is often the way in the selection, is like you get 3s. I mean, Ray and I recently picked a couple of things. A week ago?
Dance around it. 2 Wellers, an antique 107 and a full proof. Don't be scared.
And I think the funny thing is that you as you said, you're beholden to 3 samples. And so there's an element of you have to choose from one or the other, but also it's automatically that one screams out to you straight away. And Ray and I have been doing this for 5 years, and funnily enough, every single time, the one that screams out, it's been exactly the same for both of us for 5 years. Like every single time, the one that just goes, "Yep, that speaks to us," is exactly the same. And I think
makes it easier when they put, and let's not say a dud, but certainly one that we both go, "Well, that's a bit flat," because then you're not like I think it was the foolproof on the weekend that we were trying the 107. It kind of shone out, but the foolproof was like, "What? Okay, can I have all three?" Because that's a really hard pick, but it's and you get those ones sometimes they make it quite difficult.
But I do think that the majority of what we pick and what comes forward is it's reminiscent of the standard bottling, but it's also really interesting and different from what it is.
Sorry, Mark, what's your question?
I was just curious. Can you honestly say that this bottling, which you've opened for these samples, is just like the sample of the three that you chose? Like oh yeah, that's the same one. Because quite often in certainly single malt circles, I've tried samples that were potentially for bottling, and then tried the bottling of the final product, and I don't know if it's certainly scalable.
We do the absolute best we can do to get things moving as quickly as possible because things change very quickly in barrel.
Yeah, I think
we're held to timelines that are outrageous in some instances because we've got postage of samples on water for 12 days to 14 days to someone lost it to where's the tracking and all of these other things, and people are onto us and this and that. So I think I don't want to talk out of school. We try our best to try and get it done as quick as we possibly can, but I think, Ray, you would know more than anybody because you've had all the samples on hand, and then you get to try the liquid probably more than the rest of us. So
I literally try every barrel sample and bottle side by side, Mark, and there is a difference. And this may sound stupid because, well, how I pick my barrel generally, and I've had divided seats, and Corey's always wrong. But no, how I, Adam, I've gone against one that you've picked with me as well. And generally the reason I do that, Mark, is because with the timing, there is a little bit of projection of flavor, I think, definitely. And also things that'll be cleaned up. And Simon Gorham, I remember showing you the sample of my second barrel pick of Highland Park, and that took quite some time between the sample and the pick to happen. And the worry was there was this, and certainly not offensive, but earthy, moldy taste that needed a bit of cleaning up. And anyone who had barrel number 2, the Highland Park, certainly that's a begging whiskey with nothing that sticks out there. So those two, that sample versus bottling would be the strongest I've tried going back to samples and bottles. But generally with say the cherry ripe, the Eagle Rare cherry ripe and ones like that, and also the butterscotch pudding and the salted caramel, those flavors you pick out, generally I find that they get more prominent when they're in the bottle. Sometimes I can find the sample more viscous for whatever reason, but yeah, I've still got a fair few samples versus bottles. Maybe you can come and try some bourbons with me, mate.
Are they sending you these samples, Ray, at bottling proof as well? That's what I want to know.
They send the samples at the proof, bottling proof, yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're at the distillery, and you get a Rolls Royce tour.
Very nice.
Yeah, but yeah, very good question. And I think that's part of the fun process. I certainly enjoyed anyway.
And I honestly think like we play a lot into the sort of time and progress in a whiskey, but I do think there's, as a consumer, we worry and we concern about time, and there's an element of long time and short time, and I think short time actually doesn't make a huge difference. And I had that with different whiskey from a completely different brand outside of the US. Last year where I picked the cask, and then it was about 12 months later that it was actually bottled, and I was really excited about the whiskey. And then when it got bottled, I was really worried about the whiskey. What I picked versus what was being bottled is technically completely different. It's a year apart, and so I was like, well, this could be completely different. But in the shorter term world, when you approve a sample to when you get it bottled, they know what you're looking for and they know what you want, and so they will work to make sure that it makes that happen. And so, yeah, I think it's a real difficult challenge playing with time, and being on the other side of the world from the US makes it a hell of a lot harder. But they have been very good every step of the way to pretty much everything that we have tasted, and everything that Ray and I have tasted together. I've been super proud of everything that we've put out, and I think
we've never sent it back to the keeper.
We've never even really needed to request an extra sample, right? We've never sent one of the three. Whilst that's actually allowed to be done within the Sazerac rules of engagement.
Raymond, did you hear that?
It is. I won't
just in case. We should just check.
But what you got to understand though, too, in fairness, and yes, I've been in other picks, and whether there's 3 or 6 makes it harder, definitely. But
way harder.
Three's a good number, but you've got people who are on this brand day in, day out, picking those barrels for you to choose from to begin with. So half your job's already done. However, like I said, there's ones I've definitely gone, why is that in the lineup? Is that a trick? And, I've been in lineups where for other barrel picks and stuff where people have picked those because, they might not be into bourbon too much or this, that, the other, and they like the flatness of it or something different that I certainly would have went a different direction. But,
Kind of how I feel, Ray, about Corey's cut-off shirt.
What?
Corey's singlets. I think you'd love them or leave them. So.
I'm in Thailand, mate. You're in Tassie. There's going to be different outfits. If you could wear one that covers your face next time, that would be appreciated. For now, everyone will tolerate my arms a little bit easier. I would say that, like, a little bit of extra time between that sampling and when they get things going isn't going to really change fundamentally the characters and the profiles you loved when you tried to sample. In most occasions, it's only going to improve them and enhance them. So
but it's also dependent on a lot of other factors around, is it summer in Kentucky and is it 45 degrees Celsius, or is it winter and is it minus 15, where you're probably going to see nothing filtration before it's bottled.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to change it. You definitely are. And I think the big thing to remember though is generally most of the time is spent in bottles on the water. So it's already bottled and on the water, then getting through whatever other clicks it's got to get through just to get to our hands. And there's a lot of that. But there has been some, I think one of the Eagle Rares, I think it was the Cherry Ripe. It was a Cherry Ripe. It took 6 months longer for it to be bottled, which was the longest one. And
but it wasn't a miss, Ray. Like, and again, I'm not knowing longevity wise, but 5 to 7 years I've been calling you and saying, yes, send me bourbon and send me whiskey and things like that. But I don't think you've missed too many. So I think that gap between bottling and all those things, I still think you hit the mark most times, and not too many complaints. Everyone on this screen and most people that I know, and trying to convert whiskey drinkers into bourbon drinkers again. I think it's a slow process, but I think you're doing it well, and I appreciate the BTAC stuff and the stag and all those things. So big ups for that. I know you're a bourbon pusher, and that I don't want that to sound like an illegal activity. But my roots are drinking Jack Daniel's straight out of a flagon. So bourbon's coming up, and again, appreciate it, and all of these offerings for mine tonight included, even that tequila, which I would never have thought I'd said again in my life. I think you've made some great choices, and again, glad you're still involved in the barrel and batch and doing the marketing and pushing it. So thank
right
you,
here, buddy. Right here. And then thank you for that, mate. That's awesome. But also, if we've got Mark with a shirt on, that's a Pappy shirt. So we're one step closer to getting him on the bourbon train.
mate. So he's only wearing it because it was free.
We'll move into the Eagle Rare.
Not true. I bought this, and I bought one for you at the same time, Simon.
It's probably here.
Do I have it?
I gave it to you. Whether you have it, that's an entirely other question.
could be lying in North Hobart somewhere.
Yeah. So this one, this is pretty funny. This one, it's called Cherry Cola and Fudge, and that's certainly what I get. We picked this one at the distillery. Hell of a day. What's funny though about it is there's another one that's on the way called Chocolate Fantails.
Oh,
And Chocolate Fantails technically is barrel number 5 because we picked that before this one. I actually took the sample to the airport with Adam because I went to the States with Adam in January and gave him the sample lineup of the Chocolate Fantails before we left. And then 10 days later, we're picking another one at the distillery. And this one beat the other one by about 6 weeks to get here. So
this one is the only one we've ever picked at barrel strength. We picked
That's right.
At the distillery. All of the other samples that we would normally get would come at bottling strength. So this one we picked in Kentucky at whatever ADV it was, straight out of the barrel. I could show you some videos of Ray and him wetting the front of his jeans.
I was
putting the spirit thief out of the barrel, but we'll save that for another day.
I was certainly in a happy spot. Not going to lie, but no, this is So first barrel pick of Eagle Rare, and actually Buffalo Trace. We picked Buffalo Trace. Everything we picked at barrel proof or over there, which is the Stag, but it's always at barrel proof, so it's at the same proof. So I hope you enjoy this. There's some fond memories come with this one.
Tell us all about it.
Me? Oh, you're right, because you don't know, because you're not drinking.
Well, I think the one thing that comes to mind for me is when we were jumping in and out of the tour guide's van who took us around to all the distilleries. It was a little bit mind blown as to the level of red carpet treatment, I think is the correct word, that we were getting. So we were jumping back into this big GMC V8 van at all of the stops, and every time we jump back in, we've got these things they can't even buy in America. And he's like, is that Buffalo Trace at cask strength out of the barrel that we're jumping back in with samples with? And we've got all of these crazy things, and he was just a little bit mind blown at the time. And I think, that was, for me, a first experience and very exciting to be able to, turn that sort of stuff on and have a customer there where we can do those sorts of things. But yeah, it was just good feedback from this guy who runs these bourbon tours every day. It was like just mind blown, dumbfounded at the things that we had in our pockets when we were jumping back in the van.
And then 10 minutes down the road,
yeah, you're on the Murray Cod. You're on the knob.
Yeah, it was a big time. But yeah, the best thing about this is one, having another one to back it up, because I to this day still get asked if we've got any cherry ripe left. So having another single barrel Eagle Rare on the table is super exciting. Any thoughts on that little puppy, Corey?
I'm sure it's great, you prick. haven't had a shit stag. I can only imagine it's terrific.
Well, we're not on the stag yet, but we will be.
Yeah.
On the Eagle Rare, so you're jumping ahead, mate. You're jumping ahead.
Oh, you're on
Yeah, and
the
also
Eagle Rare.
picking the flavor.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, also picking the flavor notes
Yeah,
at
well,
barrel proof too.
haven't
So.
had it.
Mr. Christie, you're an Eagle Rare fan.
Certainly aren't. And even though it's down to 45, obviously it's saying on the barrel, can still taste those notes you're talking about, Ray, that you would have picked up.
Yep.
Definitely got that chopped fudge and sweet cherry coming through.
Mm.
Carries through nicely through the mouthfeel.
Yeah, I know. I actually feel like it drinks bigger than 45, this one, and certainly not in a bad way. Personally.
A lot of.
Has anybody got the cherry right there side by side? Or?
Noel's already on side by side. Sorry, Adam, what was that?
No.
Just way less cherry on the nose and on the palate, and way deep and dark, like almost like mushy chocolate brownie. Like,
Yeah.
going on there.
Pudgy. What about you, Mr. McGoran? What's your thoughts?
Oh, mate, I'm a huge fan. I was just thinking I need to dig out my bottle of cherry ripe. I think I've still got some in the garage. But would definitely be worth a comparison. But, I mean, straight away, you nailed it with the cherry cola and fudge. So I love that you get from Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
Eagle Rare, even the standard releases of Eagle Rare are one of my favorite bourbons. So any chance to get a hold of a single barrel is...
Oh, yeah, by the way, so this one sucks with the amount of juice in it. Maybe it's on what we dipped into when we were writing. But there's only 164 or something bottles. So for that to be brought down to 45 as well, that's...
Yeah.
I feel like...
After Corey gets the 120...
I don't know why they call them angels. Those angels are brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That breaks.
Devil's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Teagues, drinking an Eagle Rare single barrel? How are you finding it?
Yeah, this one's slightly more me than the single barrel BTAC, but they're both great. Like, I'd be very happy with both of them, and that's where I struggle. In that, for me as a single malt drinker, just the quality of these at the price that you managed to get them at, Ray, and share them at, I find it hard to justify to go to the brand that's on the back of my shirt, because it's the reward versus the. I mean, you could say the same for single malts for sure, but for me personally, I'm just not at that level where I fully appreciate the complexities.
Can you show us your shirt for the people that might not remember, because that's from the early days.
Yep.
There you go. Got one of those somewhere. I just don't fit that shirt anymore. As skinny as it was a few years ago.
That's because you've got a dad bod now, Simon.
Can you turn back around again? I missed it. And just stay like that. Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, Corey.
I knew that was coming.
Corey knows samples to
classic Corey move.
Love it. Noel, what's the side by side like?
Yeah, I reckon I always, it's like, when you cherry cola and fudge, it's exactly what it is. But I find that the cherry ripe is a lot, almost, it lifts me up, like it's brighter. It's sort of fresher notes, where this is like gooey. This really sucks me in. It's real deep, dark, gooey. So they both take me in different directions. So it's hard. It's actually hard to pick a favourite. I thought I love the real bright sort of cherry notes on the. I reckon the cherry ripe has it on the nose, but on the palate, I'm finding it hard to pick a winner.
Oh, that's
there you go.
That's good news, eh? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like
considering cherry ripe was popular, that's good news. It's very popular.
The cherry ripe went nuts, and it was kind of like, I think we done the release, and I was like, whoa, that was, and it was straight after we done a heap of bourbon, so we done a single barrel Buffalo Trace, and it was close to everything, and it was like, I think 60% of the barrel, which I think was like 200 and something bottles of the cherry ripe, and it was it was like in the first, day, and then the postage was awesome. By Friday, everyone was popping it, and it was just click, and the barrel was pretty much gone within 2 days. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, I had people who were just malt drinkers. I tried that cherry ripe. I'm not a bourbon drinker. Do you think I could get a bottle? Sorry, guys, it's gone. And that was over a year ago.
I think that's going to be the issue here with 80 less bottles in this. 80 less.
Yes, yeah. Yep. So Vidal's throwing at you here, Mr. Teagues. Just tell them that the best Scotch comes from ex-bourbon barrels. I will agree to that to some degree.
my favorite Scotch is ex-bourbon.
Yeah, vanilla cream, eh?
I get frustrated with sherry and all this other cask crap. Like good spirit is good spirit, and when you put it in ex-bourbon barrels, that shows good spirit. And to me, if you're making good Scotch whiskey, if you can show it well in ex-bourbon, you're showing it at its best. If you put it in other barrels,
there's not as much to hide, right?
Yeah.
What a testament to the original spirit that goes in the first barrel that they're stealing from that, right?
Yeah. Just for you, Teagues.
Corn juice.
He's like, I'll leave it at that. Love it. All right, well, I won't say onto the star of the show, but certainly onto the big daddy of the show. I'm super excited to share this one with you guys because Milne would certainly know from the get-go, and then Adam ever since afterwards, how many times I've asked for a Stag single barrel. And we got one, people.
It's rare. I don't think we ever talked about it.
Everybody except Corey.
I reckon I can dig up 1,000 messages.
I'll play catch-up, Gilly, if you're
Yeah, we're going to have another live just for Corey to go through the samples, I think.
Nah,
so it's okay. You can send us all some extra samples to go with him.
Now, here's the fun fact. We picked this one at Barrel Proof as well. But it's
surprises there, though.
Yeah. So again, I got that cherry note for this one, but I found the finish, and obviously because of the char, it almost had like a coal smoky finish, like smoked cherries. So this one's called chewy caramel and smoky cherries. So certainly heaps of caramel and brown sugar.
This is sensational, right? Absolutely fantastic. It's got all that that Maillard reaction, savouriness, all that caramelization. So good.
He's trying to tell us, Corey, but you're too excited on not trying it. Simon, what were you saying, mate?
I was just saying it's got starting to get some of that, and I use this tasting note a bit, but that edge of the roasting pan character, or that caramelization starts to go slightly savory, but in the best possible way. That sweet, savory sort of character.
I think that's where I get that smoky cherries flavor coming from.
For sure.
Yeah.
Chewy caramel. Yeah, it's very chewy.
Kentucky chew.
I just want to jump in. David or Carolyn. I'm not sure who's there, or maybe both. But David and Carolyn Taylor asking, which bourbon would convert me from a single malt.
That's easy.
I think all of us have an opinion on this, and I think we can probably go around the group and talk. But I can honestly, I moved to Australia 6.5 years ago, and I was very much working in Scotch whiskey, and that was my bread and butter, and I was all Scotch and never really focused on anything else. But I think it's a really interesting question of like what's the gateway and what's the movement from one to the other. And to me personally, and I'd love to hear the rest of the group on this sort of debate, but for me it was wheated whiskey. So for me it was Weller Special Reserve, Weller 12-year-old. It was that element of whiskey, of wheated whiskey, that got me across to American whiskey. Yes, like American whiskey is very different to Scotch, and there is, you know, a stag and a George T stag and a, you know, Pappy Van Winkle 15 is so different to a Scotch whiskey, and Scotch whiskey is also an exceptionally vague term because you can have bourbon cask, sherry cask, cognac cask, you know, everything else. And so I think it's a tough term to sort of define, but to me, I thought the wheated whiskey was the real way into bourbon from Scotch, in the sense that it's like you've got this softness, you've got this fruitiness, you've got all this character. Like a Weller Special Reserve to me is very similar and akin to a Linkwood, a Manickmore, you know, in that element. It's like it's soft, it's fruity, it's fresh, it's delicious, and it's a great whiskey. And so, yeah, answering that question, I'd love to hear the group's perspective of what. I know a lot of you are American whiskey fans first, and some of you are Scottish whiskey fans first. So,
can I can jump in there because there's a couple on the screen that I've certainly converted, and sorry, not sorry. Corey, certainly. Noel, you're doing side by sides of a lineup that's incredible next week that's coming out that you can side by side stuff that we've done before. And I remember when you reached out about bourbon, and I appreciate everything you say there, Andy. But my easy way to gateway people into bourbon from single malt is the question of, well, what single malts do you like? Okay, well, I love, as you love a bourbon cask, or you love a sherry, or this, that, the other. So when someone says a sherry whiskey, I'll generally say the same thing as you said. A wheated is a good start. I find wheated, I call wheated a perk of the tongue. It's just soft and gentle, and it's got that good palate feel that the sherry cask has got, and a different sort of sweetness as well. So the Weller Antique, for example, obviously that's not an entry level bourbon, but it's certainly for a sherry drinker. I don't think I'd see any complaints come back. So 15 right there. So I just think it comes down to, and I mean, no disrespect to the brands here that I speak of, because they've definitely helped pave the way and start what we've got. But you've got Johnny Walker, and you've got Jim Beam, and you've got your Jacks and your everything else. And everyone knows I love a Jack and Coke. By God, I do. But when someone says they don't like bourbon, I say you don't like Jim Beam. When someone says they don't like Scotch, I say you don't like Johnny Walker, because honestly, that's generally their experience with it. And generally at an age where they weren't ready for it, like you were tequila tonight, Simon. So I think if you've got a quality whiskey, it's hard to go wrong. And when Corey first reached out, I remember I said, look, you can go a regular Buffalo Trace, which is good, but here's this single barrel of this and single barrel of Eagle Rare. And, that was from my own damn stock. But he was, keen to learn. And I think, Noel, I gave you some from my own stores after we sold out a barrel and batch before barrel and batch was moved over to where it is now. So I think that, like, Mark, you could answer this for me tonight. The quality of that Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare isn't what you're buying on the standard shelf. And I think if you're not getting bored with malt, but you've had a journey with it and you've tried a lot of malts, moving to something like that at $100 and $150 a bottle, which is what you pay for a good malt, I think that you're not going to be disappointed. It's a different journey. And I will finish with welcome to the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's Eagle Rare, $150 for a 10-year-old hand-selected bourbon. Like,
yeah, $149.
In Scotch, I'll give you the tip. But I think the other thing we missed, and if I just want to go back a little bit into the three different bourbons that were on the table tonight. Was it three? Three. It's all the same mash bill. It's literally all made from the exact same mash bill, same grain recipe, goes into the exact same barrels, and it's just around different barrel placement and different ABVs that these things are pulled out. So I think that's the coolest thing about what we're trying here tonight. Just 3 very different whiskies. But it all goes in as the exact same thing. Super cool what they can do with different rick houses and different placement, different times of year, different ABVs. I think it's amazing. But
Can
for
I
me,
say,
cut everybody off, Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare is the one that
Yeah.
will convert everybody.
as a convert, thanks to Ray,
You're welcome.
my opinion is like if for a like I agree 1000% what you said with the single barrel BTs and the single barrel Eagle Rares are worlds apart from the bottle of BT that's sitting on the shelf at Dan's, and at that price it's hard to beat, and it's so smashable, and it's amazing, and like I really think that's a really good way to ease some people in if they're not willing to spend heaps of cash. But if you are a kind of Scotch aficionado that's got to that point where they're only drinking like cask strength kind of stuff, then like for me, that the first time I had a stag, it knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And
about
that won me over straight away.
what about this time when you've had a stag?
Right?
We haven't talked about this yet.
And this is I think the third stag that I've tried. I've only got a bottle of one, but like at my first sip, it's everything in a stag that I love, and everything in a bourbon that I love.
But it's like those JD 65%ers and the Stag 65%ers. You're like, oh fuck, I should take it easy on this. But then you're like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, yeah, that was good.
That was a silly thing.
No, and then why did I order 2 cases of that, and where's it all gone? So,
I mean, I always find it interesting that people feel the need to convert as well. I mean, I think whiskey should be a broad church.
So it's
don't just choose one god. It's polytheism. So don't just choose Scotch. Don't just choose bourbon.
Yeah.
Like, I think there is a whiskey for all occasions. I mean, there's no secrets here. I love Scotch, but I wouldn't say but I also drink bourbon. I love bourbon. I want to have a good range of bourbon on my shelf. I'm not converted from one to the other. We can include them all. Why not?
And I think same with ABV. Like someone looks at a bottle of Stag or JD or whatever, and it's 65.5%, and they're like, holy shit, I better just pour a tiny little one. I'm the opposite. I'm like, you know what? I'll pour it how it tastes good and go from there. As long as I'm not getting in a car or driving a tractor or doing any of that shit, whatever tastes good works. So,
but you
shut up. Mate, the only reason I can't read the ABV is because of the shine off your shoulders from that fucking muscle shirt.
Yeah. No, I find it's not about like converting where you go off one and you go into another. It's just opening new doors, which means now you're spending money on more stuff. We used to spend money on this stuff, and now you're bloody spending money on
That's the problem. That is the problem. That's the conundrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rabbit hole, like I said.
Yeah, we're not. And look, as a bourbon promoter over here, we're not here to steal anything away from Simon either. But yeah, that's the rabbit hole, right? You got to find what you love the most, and my job is to convert as many as we can because we sell bourbon, and his job.
You guys sell Scotch whiskey too, though, don't you, in your portfolio? So
not a lot anymore. I think.
Okay.
I think the target is to just get as many people drinking as much Eagle Rare as we can.
But again, groups like this versus on premise and versus venue, it's a different demographic. So opening up barrel on batch, and what Ray's done over the last 3-4 years with bourbons and whiskies has opened up that market much more. But for on premise, you're still struggling with the same thing. So, you've got your Scotch drinkers, and you've got your Scotch with the whiskey with an E and whiskey with no E, and then you got your bourbon drinkers who's JD and Coke or at most Maker's Mark. So
if you're talking if we're
Yeah.
talking the on premise
Yeah.
of those exact drinkers that Ray was touching on
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
They drive the entirety of the volume in the country, but nobody consumes this stuff without a mixer.
But with the BTAC stuff and what we're talking about in this group, there isn't the availability other than maybe Buffalo Trace, standard. There's not the availability to do that. Anyway, that's a side conversation. I'm out. Stop, Simon. Shut up. Bye. Shut up, John Jarvis.
I'm turning myself off. But yeah, anyway, first single barrel stag. I would like some more chat around that. Let's go. Come on, Mr. T. It's no single malt. Give me something.
It's funny talking about, if you were to be converted or whatever. I'd go with the nose on this and probably the palate on the Eagle Rare if I was trying to get a single malt drinker into these particular bourbons. The nose on this is not unlike a cask strength sort of cross between Macallan and Mortlach in some ways. It's got real heft and thickness to the nose.
Yep.
But none of them have the synthetic corn note that I often associate with bourbon that immediately puts me off when I drink it. None of the three whiskies have that, which is why they're all appealing to me.
Is that? I used to have a problem with this before I started at South Trade. There's a peanut thing that I get. You reference it as a synthetic corn note, but I don't know what it is. Like I get it out of a lot of low end bourbon, and it comes across as a peanut kind of thing for me. Yeah, interesting. I just thought I'd call that out because there's something about a lot of different bourbon that I don't get out of our stuff. I get way more cherry out of all Buffalo Trace distillery related things, but I get a lot of peanut out of other brands. Just to comment.
Someone smashing their keyboard. Cool. Vidal is comparing. Oh, yeah. We'll wait for his feedback there. Just if anyone's keen on it too, the first barrel currently is on special for anyone watching who has tried it, hasn't tried it. And then obviously we've got a Black Friday sale. I'm not sure if anyone's seen that.
10%. Yep.
Can't really post that, can I? Yeah, I think I can. I'll put it on here.
So, Ray, are any of these bottles online yet?
No, mate. No. You're the first to try it. The release is at midday of the 4th of December next week.
Right.
And see how she goes. I don't expect the Stag or the Eagle to lay around. That's for sure. Only 300 bottles between the two of them, I think, which is just not fair.
I assume the Stag fairly heftily higher than the Rare, though, price-wise.
So I haven't priced them yet, but what we did last time was $149 for the Eagle. I can't see that being any different this time. And the Stag would be $399, I imagine. So that'll be the ballpark that we're looking at. But yes, you're looking at I think what is the RRP? But standard Stag $379, I think, is generally what you'll see it for at RRP.
I'd love to have those answers for you, mate. We don't know anymore. We really don't know on this stuff anymore.
What is the RRP on a Stag in Australia anymore?
MSRP is what they talk about in the US, and it's a $49 bottle. I don't know. Look, the majority of the time that we see Stag in the market and normal Stag, it'll be $3.99, could be $4.49. could be $6.99. It's very hard. We have no control.
No, look, 350 to 400 has been pretty sexy pricing on that on a stag for a while now. It is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and
selected barrel pick at $3.99. I think that presents pretty.
It's
good
pretty.
value.
You've always got access to stag if you know Corey's address as well. So
They're always there. I don't plan on running out. No, I love
we
it.
may as well give a highlight to Jarvis tipping a bottle of stag into your jacuzzi.
No, it was we were 2 bottles of stag deep between us, and my hand filled Glendronach in the jacuzzi. Yeah,
Handful Glendronach.
yeah. No, it was good. It was good. It's good fun.
Just dropping Glendronach and jacuzzi in the same phrase is like it's just like just.
And 2 men. This is not great. Let's just stop talking about it. That's not great.
Good idea.
Two
All right,
big,
well,
rather rotund, bald, bearded men. It's just, I'm making this worse for you, aren't I?
Same birthdays.
Right, we've decided together we're going to pitch together and we're going to get you hair for Christmas. It's fine.
Dude, love you guys. So sweet.
Everything you've done.
It's the least you deserve. It's fine.
Gonna do something pretty fun right now, and since we're all here, want to get our hands up on the best your favorite out of 3 bourbons. So you've got the Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, or the Stag. Oh, right.
I'm just gonna make shit up. I'm gonna vote.
I don't. Yeah, you can do
I
that.
know what you're voting for already, Corey.
Dell's got to be in his mind about duty free and probably that price on the Weller Reserve.
Surely it's an error tagging.
It's just a mistake. It's simple ticketing
for the Weller
mistake.
12.
It's a simple
Must have been
ticketing
intended.
mistake. It should be 180
Yeah,
on the Weller
actually,
12, and the reserve should be $80, $70.
Yeah.
And just that's all it is. When you go back through, or even if that is or isn't your photo, Vidal, you'll be able to get Weller Reserve at $70.
Everybody who's watching online as well, feel free to chuck your comments in because we can show them, like this young man. Squire, what stag? Oh, right. So for all us on camera, PT, hands up, PT. Hands up, Eagle Rare.
Grow up.
Hands up, stag. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm divided, but I won't put my hands up for either of. I'll just say occasion, and
100%. Like at their price point and at what they deliver, they are winners in their own. You know, like on the day where you want it most. It's hard to pit them together.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like the Eagle Rare, I will drink again and again and again, and I would happily order me a case, and I will drink that regularly. And it's the thing of like I was talking to my wife about this the other day about wine. It's like there's wine that you sit there and you can just drink and drink. It's like, yeah, I can scull that, and that's delicious. And there's wine that you stop and you go, yeah, that's serious and that's really good. And
that's a sipper.
I think that's exactly that. The Eagle Rare is like, I could drink that time and time again, and I will be upset at the point that I run out of stock of.
Need another bottle of that red. Well, there's only 168, so good luck, pal.
Exactly, and that's something that I was like, I will drink, and that is something that just sits in the regular. And the Stag is like, it's something special, and I definitely appreciate it as special.
I think that's a good point too, Mr. Tiggs. The Eagle Rare when price is factored in. I mean, you know, and I think you're saying the same thing, Andy. You can't, you know, smash a bottle of Stag every night. Well, at 65%, can you?
No, I can't.
I mean, you can try. You have a lot of fun.
I'm not going on video for that. That's for sure.
That's why Simon.
No, I mean, I think whoever said it, they're all for different moments, right? Like each of those, you're not going to sit down on a night and you're going to choose between those three. You're probably going to go, oh, this is the day I've had, and you're just going to gravitate towards one of those. And there's some nights that deserve a stag. There's some that you sit down to an ER, and there's some that BT is just going to fill the spot. And look, I obviously haven't tried them, but trying previous picks and stag generally, but that's the way it is with each of those, right? Like it's not that you'd go and choose one or the other. They've all got their different place.
If we go to Korea, we try the BT, the ER, and then the stag in one night.
Yeah, okay. So you come and there's some wankers where you try them all. I get it. No, but like honestly, like if you're sitting there making a decision to buy those, bang for buck, the Eagle Rare's on the money, right?
Yeah.
If you really want something special, you're buying that stag. You're buying stag all the time. And Buffalo Trace, like if you love your normal Buffalo Trace, you're going to love every single barrel that comes out of barrel and batch every single time.
Yeah, and I just think
they're
that
all different.
$99 price point for that single barrel Buffalo Trace at 45%.
Yeah.
It's like that. That's a great BT as well. But you know, I think
grab two, right, Ray?
So what do you grab two? What
of the BT at
Oh,
99?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Old fashions all day.
I do love seeing the look on people's face when I give them a standard BT when they come around, and then you give them the single barrel picks.
Yep.
And they're like, I thought these were the same thing, same looking bottle, and they're just like, wow.
And that's the same, but that's the same with the two barrel picks, like even the salted caramel versus the butterscotch.
Yeah.
Like you have, and like the cherry ripe versus a new one. You have them next to each other. They're completely different whiskies.
It's just even understanding the BT, that little bump in ABV just makes a world of difference as well.
Of course,
that 5% is massive. Massive.
You know, Maker's Mark is drunk with Coke. Buffalo Trace 40% that you're buying from Dan Murphy's and every bottle shop in the country. Almost every
barrel and batch
Coca-Cola. These are a different base. That's why they're more expensive. They're hand selected. They've got more flavour.
Honestly, I reckon that would be the most answered question I've had personally with the Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare single barrels. When people are thinking, why am I paying, $20, $30, $40 more a bottle? What's the point? And then answering it, and like yourself, Noel, getting it and trying. I think I sent you a bunch of samples to kind of line up where you wanted to go when you first asked it. No, I think I sent you a packet of samples of all different bourbons to go try these. This is where I think you'll like it, and it gives you some sort of gauge where to go with it.
I must say, Ray, if I could pay an extra $30, $50 for a few 40% scotches around the place to give it an extra 5% ABV, I'd jump at the chance.
Yeah. Just watch that Adam Brand's portfolio, mate. You'll find that on Barrel and Batch as well.
That's right.
You're welcome. I think I'll stop the live recording if anyone wants to sit around and have a quick bourbon and revisit some of these bourbons we tried. Mate,
I've still got a few hours of daylight. I'm sticking around.
All right. Well, I will. I'll stop the recording, and everyone at home who tuned in, and obviously everyone here tonight. Thanks so much for giving up your time. I think they're some special bourbons. I'm super excited to be sharing them next week. Can't wait for everyone who didn't get a sample pack to try them and watch this and tune back. Anyone got anything else to say before I close off? I'm done. Beep, crickets.
No, it's all good. Thanks for getting that Simon bloke out. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's gone. All right.